Rev up your engines! Okay, today we're talking about a 2005 Toyota Matrix. Guy bought it used for like $1,300. And probably the main reason he got it so cheap was the transmission was broken. They thought it was a clutch, but it wasn't. So they put a used transmission in it. And that cost them like $1,300, $1,400. So he's got about $3,000 in the car now, which is of course nothing for a vehicle these days. So we're gonna see. It's got check engine lights and all that stuff on it. As you can see, it's got Tennessee tags. It is the XRS version of the Matrix. It was made in Cambridge, Ontario. It's got a little bitty oil leak, so the first thing, we're gonna take the oil cap off and pour some UV dye in it. We just pour it in, put the oil cap back on. While we road tested, the dye will go through the system and the little dye will come out. We'll be able to use my yellow sunglasses and a UV light to see exactly where it's leaking from. But it's got a check engine light and stuff, so we're gonna scan it. As per usual, it just plugs in the data port there. We're gonna try out this new X tool. It's got 170,169 miles on it. Automatic detection. Detecting. Hey, the interior's still in good shape. These cloth seats can last forever. That's why I like them. Just like my wife's Matrix, there's a lot of room in these things. There's something I don't like, a sunroof, and it leaked on me. He had to clean out the drains because it was leaking. So close it and leave it closed is my advice. Automatic scan. Here we go. Scan it pretty quickly, and it's got codes for the stupid airbag system. You never really expect them to work all that well in a car that's this old. The trouble codes. And it says indicator of auto pattern seat airbag active mode. Ah! That's a weird one. Realize this does have those defective Takata airbags. I personally wouldn't trust them. Put the old seatbelt on when you're driving. We'll clear it just to see if it comes back later. And now we'll go to the other trouble codes. The only other trouble codes were here for the main system, engine and electronically controlled transmission. You gotta turn it off, turn it on again because it's an old car, and that's hard work. So here we go. Read the codes, and it's got secondary air injection pump is stuck and off. Secondary air injection pump is stuck and off. Secondary air injection pump is stuck. We'll clear that for one main reason. This is Tennessee. They don't do any kind of emissions testing. The car will run perfectly fine as it does, so we don't care. It would be a relatively expensive repair if you live in an emissions area, because normally with that, you got to replace the stinking pump, and they're extremely expensive. If you don't live in one of those areas, here's a picture of one of the pump. In this case, it's a used one for sale because they're so expensive. New, a lot of guys will try a used one. If they really go bad, they'll often idle bad. Let's see what this thing does. We'll start her up. It's idling perfectly fine. Hear that rattling noise? The catalytic converter's rattling. Now it runs okay, and it's not tripping any cat codes. You can drive it with a rattling catalytic converter all you want, but if it finally breaks off, the pieces will jam in the back and it'll clog it up. And then when you go to the back, hardly any air will come out, but it's coming out fine. And it runs good enough, so you don't have to worry about it. And this being Tennessee, a lot of guys will just throw them away rather than buy one if it finally does break and clog everything up. Now, the average price to replace a cat on this is between $1,900 and $2,000. It's part of the exhaust manifold assembly, so it's very expensive. So if it runs okay and nobody cares, there's no check engine light for that, just leave the thing alone. So now we're going to look at live data to see what kind of shape this thing is in. Now I gotta say, this machine, it kind of updates rather slowly. This airflow sensor's good and stable. Now we can see long-term fuel trim here. It's 2.31%. That means it's adding 2.31%. Kind of typical. A lot of times these things will run a little bit lean as they age. You're going to get better gas mileage. You might put some of Bernie's cleaner in if you want it to run less lean, but you'll probably get worse gas mileage if it's not running as lean, so that I would just leave alone. My Matrix, hey, it runs somewhat lean, but it gets 37 miles a gallon on the highway, doesn't burn oil, so I don't care. You can see the engine's working perfectly fine. Zero misfires for all four cylinders. They're all zero. Now we're going to take it for a road test, but see, on this 2005, look, this is all metal. We go 2 years later to this 07, which is my Matrix. It's all plastic. Cheaper made. They just go to it because it's cheaper, that's all. This is a much better designed metal. So let's close the hood, take it for a spin. The only light is the tire pressure monitoring system, and hey, It's an old car, you know. It's almost 20 years old, so tire pressure monitoring, batteries are worn out. Who cares? Get a pressure gauge to measure it rather than replace 4 of those for a bunch of money. Camera, because it's old, but it's got a CD player. And aside from the rattling catalytic converter, it rides quite well. And being a manual transmission, it's a lot zippier than mine. Still corners quite well. These things were made for cornering. Now, they're rather rough riding on a bumpy road, but they really do corner quite well. Even my wife says in hers, it wants to go fast. Strangely enough, she drives it a lot faster than her Lexus, because the Lexus just cruises along, but she says the Matrix just wants to get out and go. And they really do, if you drive them right. The brakes work perfectly fine when you hit the brakes. Look, no problems at all. But wait till people go by, so we'll have some space for our little drag strip here. Now, it's not a race car by any of the stretch of the imagination, but it's fast enough. Nobody's behind us, so here we go. Hey, it burns rubber. Whee! Hey, this thing is still zippy. It's a lot zippier than ours because it's a manual transmission. You get a lot more speed out of it. Just keep them in a lower gear and they'll accelerate better. So if you want to pass someone, all you got to do is, we're in 3rd gear now, we'll just go down to 2nd gear. Zippy. Fun to drive. And of course, when you're really pushing it, all that exhaust gas is going out. The catalytic converter stops rattling then. But, hey, it's got plenty of acceleration. If it had a clogged cat, it wouldn't be driving this fast and zooming up. So, it's not clogged yet. Sometimes you can drive them years that way. Really stable going down the road. And really, aside from the rattling catalytic converter, it's pretty quiet. It's quieter than my wife's. Hers had been in a couple of wrecks before we bought it, so sometimes you get some wind noise. This one doesn't really have the wind noise. I'm just kind of surprised that the transmission had to be replaced, because this used one works perfectly fine. Before this, I'd never seen a standard transmission break in the Matrix, so I don't know. I might question, did it really need replacing or not? I don't know. This one works fine. It's a used one. Supposedly, I don't know. I didn't see the job done either. But it's rare that these standard transmissions going out. And as for my wife's, it's got the 4-speed automatic. I've never seen one of those break. But who knows? The owner before him might have just beaten the heck out of it, jammed it into reverse when they were going forward, and that, of course, will break anything. I've seen that happen. Just a shame that that cat is rattling, because as you can hear, it's kind of annoying. It's not affecting the running yet. Eventually, it'll probably break into pieces, and it will, but it isn't yet. Now, other than the rattling, it runs perfectly fine, so let's check about that oil leak now that we've taken a spin for the leak dye to go through the system. Okay, so I got my yellow sunglasses over my regular ones, and this cool UV light will crawl under there and look for where the leak's coming from. And just as I suspect, it's the front main seal of the engine where the crankcase pulley goes over the crankcase. There's a seal inside there. Now you can take the engine apart, replace the seal, reasonable job, but I'm going to try this AT205 reseal. I've had very good luck with it. You pour it in, it rejuvenates the seal, and then the leak stops. I'll give this a try. I know it looks like water, but it isn't. We'll just pour the whole bottle in. It's a liquid polymer, and it rejuvenates the rubber on the oil seal. Kind of amazing stuff. Now, if you have an oil gasket leak, it won't fix it. It only works on the seal, because the seals have a spring inside that holds them in place. And since that's holding it tight, if the rubber's kind of worn, this can rejuvenate the rubber and it can stop leaking. If it doesn't work, you can always take the engine apart and replace the seal. It won't hurt anything, and I've seen it fix quite a few of these. You give them 250 miles of driving, and then see if the drip stops. Great. Now, I mean, if you don't want to take everything apart, and it's only dripping a little, you can just add oil as it leaks out. It's not that big of a deal, you know? You can either try this, if it doesn't work, take the engine apart and put a new seal on it, or just live with the leak. I've seen them drip for years before they really go. When it's really bad, they'll leave gigantic puddles, makes a mess, then you know it's time to change the seal. But this stuff works pretty good. We're gonna see if it works. God'll tell me in a few weeks if it stopped or not. So there you have it. An 05 Matrix, 170,000 miles, still runs like a clock. Yeah, the catalytic converter's rattling, but it still runs okay. You can replace it if you want to spend a whole bunch of money. You can take it off if you want to break the law. But the car itself, hey, made in Cambridge, Ontario, still runs like a top, brakes like a top, doesn't burn oil. Mind you, it leaks a little. You replace the seal, but for the money he's got invested in this thing, less than $3,000 bucks, hey, you got a good deal. You got a Ford Fusion that has running problems, it stumbles, the check engine light comes on, it was even flashing. What a surprise, a Ford that has problems. Now, granted, this thing's gone over 230,000 miles. So maybe it's on its last leg, maybe it isn't. But before I even start analyzing it, I can smell it. And it smells like the catalytic converter is getting too hot. So the first thing we're gonna do is put on my fancy scan tool and see what kind of temperatures it's getting to. I got it plugged in down there and it's already starting by itself. So we'll do a standalone diagnosis. Read the VIN already. It's pretty fast. So at least we know the computer system's hooked up. 3-liter automatic gasoline. Here we go. So this nice hotel scanner does a topology scan. So here we go. We'll go through the whole scan. And while we're looking, I mean, the dash is still good. It's not cracked. You know, I paid $2 grand for the car last year. Back seat's still decent. Obviously, dogs live in here. You can see that. And these are seat covers. The stuff underneath has holes in it. All right, 10 trouble codes. So let's start on the top. Instrument cluster, we probably won't care about that because this is a running problem, but we'll see what the code is. The Ford dash is going wild because it's doing a bunch of analysis. That's how Fords are. It made that beep. I didn't do it. Things will flash on and off as it checks itself. Data for vehicle security, well, we really don't care about that. He's got a problem with running, not starting. Okay, we'll go to HVAC. AC system. Doesn't have anything to do with the car not running right. You don't expect an old Ford to have a working air conditioning system anyway. Voltage out of range, who really cares about that? Although we will check the battery later just to see if it's got a problem. Okay, and here we go, check the next one. Audio control, we don't even care about the radio. We won't even look at that. We'll look at the PCM, which is main data. Cylinder number 4, misfire. And just out of curiosity, let's check the freeze frame data. Here's the freeze frame data. 54% load, 1,819 RPM. The car was going 50 miles an hour. Now, a lot of reasons can make a misfire. Now, this was under load. A lot of times, that's just internal engine wear. We'll have to check that out with another machine later. Now, we'll look at the body control module, see what's going on there. The code's for the radio, so that doesn't mean anything without runs. It's for the occupant classification module, so we don't care about that either. So, trying to erase them all. The only thing it wouldn't erase is system not ready to check everything, which happens when you get code, so that's something we don't have to worry about. Let's start it up. And we'll look at live data for the PCM. Remember, black's good, red is bad. We'll look for some red stuff, see if we can find any red stuff. Everything's good so far. Let's see if we can get to the misfire information. There's nothing wrong with the ignition timing, so that's not causing it. That's got no faults. And the injector for number 4 has no fault. Now we'll look at spark duration. See if number 4 looks different than the others. You notice it's slightly lower. Quite a bit lower. Now as I rev it up, the engine sounds good, so let's look under the hood. I can definitely smell it's hot, but here's the thing. If you have a misfire, you're going to get raw gas in the exhaust, which is going to make the catalytic converter get hot. And then the light's going to start flashing on and off. So, fortunately, when he bought it last year, he had that changed. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap these two and take it for a test. This coil on plug assembly was bought at AutoZone. So maybe it's just bad. I've seen that happen many times. These Chinese made things often don't last very long. So we're going to switch it and then take it for a road test. But first, we'll take it out. So we'll pull out the spark plug and check it, but unfortunately I forgot to bring my ratchet. So now that we have a ratchet, we can get it out. Take a look at it. It's been in there about a year. It'll give us a good idea what's happening inside. And what's happening is this. The engine is all wearing out inside. You can see it is covered with burnt oil and worn out. See, with the new one, they're supposed to look like this. This one is all worn up, caked with burning oil. The engine is obviously worn. No surprise with 230,000 miles. So we're going to change our thing. We're not even going to switch the coil. We're going to put this in and take it for a ride. So we'll put the coil back on. Don't forget to plug it in and put the bolt on. It helps ground it. They have to be grounded, so make sure you get that on snug. Get it nice and snug so it's grounded. You need power and ground to make them work. Get in, take it for a spin now. See what happens. Go, old car, no backup camera. It's an old Ford, it'll probably make all kinds of noises. I can hear suspension things boinging. But I mean, it doesn't run that bad so far. And get it, the AC still works. So I can roll up the windows. And they still roll up too, so we'll take it for a little spin. Doesn't shift bad for 230,000 miles. Now, I'm not going to take the corner too hard. This guy says he wants to keep it in the streets. He doesn't even want to go on a highway because he doesn't trust this thing. I don't think it's all that bad. The back of road, and since the misfire occurs at 50, let's see what happens at 50. Good thing the data freeze frame told us when it went bad, so we'll just mosey along, speed up a little. Now we're doing 50, we'll just cruise a little. We'll do a little cruising, and then we'll go back and look at the data. It's running perfectly fine. The check engine light isn't on. It's going pretty good. Just realize this. If you have a misfire in your engine, you're going to get raw gas going into the exhaust in most cases. That will make the catalytic converter get too hot and trip a code for the catalytic converter. He was also getting that code before. Even, let's say, it isn't running too rich, but the misfire makes it run too lean. Running lean will also overheat the catalytic converter. But in this case, it was more misfires because it wasn't running particularly lean or rich. It was just that number 4 cylinder that was having a problem, which it has had before. So it makes total sense that it's just worn out, because when we took it out, it had like 90,000 worth of wear on it, and he's only driven it about 8,000 miles in the year. An old Ford clunker with 230,000 miles, it really doesn't run all that bad. I'm kind of shocked. Of course, I did put the spark plug in. It would have been misfiring like mad if I hadn't changed that worn out carbon covered spark plug. So we'll take a spin back and see what it says. Actually, it cruises quite well. I can't complain. There's something he paid $2,000 for last year. It was his first car. Now, I'm too lazy to hook up my big scan tool and set it all up, so I'm just going to use this Innova that's a lot faster to see if there's any misfires for that trip. We did drive it well over 50 miles an hour. It has no trouble codes now. So he fixed it with one spark plug. Now, he had taken it to a Firestone dealer. They wanted $9,000 worth of work. Now, come on, who would put $9,000 into a car they paid $2,000 for? But the spark plug made it stop misfiring because it's a new one. It's not covered with carbon. Now, he put the old one in like 9,000 miles ago. So, hey, if it lasts 8,000 or 9,000 miles and this thing's still running and he keeps oil in it, because it burns oil, but as long as you keep it in, it'll burn it, and the spark plug eventually will foul out. But you can keep replacing it. I had a customer with a BMW in Houston years ago. I had to change the spark plugs every 6,000 miles. But luckily it was an inline 6. It was real easy to get to. So she'd just bring it to me. I put new ones in. Drove it years that way until she finally got rid of it. So, 2 lessons. Don't go to Firestone to get an estimate to fix your car, especially if it's old. They'll sell you the kitchen sink. And 2, sometimes it's as simple as the spark plug's worn out because the engine's burning oil. No one in their right mind is going to rebuild this engine for thousands and thousands of dollars. But as you see, it runs perfectly fine until the plug gets shorted out. Now, as time goes on, it will probably get covered with oil even faster. But what the heck? If he'd get 8,000 or 9,000 miles, he's looking for another car anyways. He might as well keep driving it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.